Hello, hello, I'm Kads and welcome to today's video. Once again, it is time for a shard pull video. We have the lit portal, the blue hue, meaning it is time for 2x Ancients. Now this one in particular is quite special because we do have the special event of the coinciding 10x for Valkyrie. Now normally I would wait until Sunday or the last day, the third day of the 2x's or whatever shard pull event, because I typically don't care about the 10x champions that are offered. However, in this case, Valkyrie, as you guys may have known if you follow the channel, that Valkyrie is top of my wish list for Demon Lord Clan Boss, so if I can increase my chances of getting her, I will definitely do it. So while we're here, let's go ahead and look at the shard count at the moment. We have 456 on the Ancients, 196 on the Voids, and 50 on the Sacreds. Of course, we are only going to be pulling the Ancient shards today. Now let's hop over to the Champion Chase tournament, which is fairly par for the course. However, since this is an extremely rare situation where the 10x is someone desirable and it is 2x Ancients, instead of going for the normal 3000, I think we're going to go for the 5500. The idea here being that I'm attempting, air quotes, to say let's pull until we get a legendary, but the practical cap would be there's really minimal value above going above 5500 points because there's no other rewards. We're not going to beat anybody here in the leaderboard, so I'm not going to get any relentless or anything like that. And so I'm going to try and pull until I get a legendary, but we have a hard stop at 5500 points. As you can see here, I'm already at about 650 points, and that is partially because I summoned Mishinaki, who I pulled last weekend during that guaranteed event. So that was worth 500 points. And then just running champion training and campaign, a little bit of mystery shards as well, or getting some of the rares from campaign and pulling some mystery shards while doing the champion training event. I've gotten another about 150 points. As usual, let's pop up the mercy tracker that I like to use here on the screen. And you can see that we are miles and miles away from hitting the mercy legendary. However, we're just hopeful that maybe we'll hit roughly that 1 in 100 chance, give or take, depending on how, again, hard cap at 5500 points in the champ chase. But, you know, I'm willing to pull 80 to 100-ish ancient shards to try and get my hands on a Valkyrie. It's also worth mentioning here, and we have the 10x rate calculator, that there are 148 different legendaries in the ancient shard pool, and this is a single 10x. So that means that if I pull a legendary at all, there is a 6.4% chance that it will be Valkyrie. Now, obviously, this is not great. 6% is not a high number, but it is substantially higher than 1 in 148 if I were to pull during a non-2x to get Valkyrie. So the odds are better for a champion you do want, but as you'd expect, it is nowhere near guaranteed, even though it's a 10x. So aside from Valkyrie, I'm still looking for a Xavier or Eleanor, the Poison Exploders. I'm still looking for a Molly Tankard for the no contact provoke, and still looking for Duck the Pierced as an epic for Faction Wars. Again, I've already beaten Faction Wars. I have Lydia, but it would be for a little bit of efficiency for the Orc Faction Wars. And then I'm still looking for some Dark Elves and some Sylvan Watchers for the Faction Guardians. All right, let's get into the pulls. We've got some space, we've got the cash, and hopefully we've got the luck. Let's get into this. First 10 pull. So because I'm going for something relatively more precise than normal, I am going to be trying to keep track of the math for each of these 10 pulls. So 340, 650 brings me to just about 1,000 points. Aox, remember, pretty decent epic. He does have a AoE decrease attack, decrease crit rate here, and some poisons on the A1. Pretty decent. Also a really cool passive where he can increase the duration of 2 random debuffs on the attacker when hit. So that's a pretty cool passive. Decent support. Decent for Faction Wars if you need the decreased attack and you don't have anyone else, and decent for Demon Lord Clan Boss as well. Moving on. Next 10 pull is a little bit of a lag there. Does that mean we get... No? Okay. Carlinia. That might be new for me. Terror Beast. One of the menaces of Ice Golem 20, Doom Priest. Really good epic there with her passive, where she'll remove 1 random debuff from all allies, as well as heal them by 7.5%. Rest of her kit is relatively useless, but if you run her in a Relentless set, she is very powerful with this passive to keep your team topped up on health and free of debuffs. All right, we are at 1,800 so far with 2 10 pulls. Pretty good rates on the epics. Let's keep it going. Next set of 10 is going to be a bunch of rares. I hate to see it. Okay, one more epic. There we go. 340. So Sanguini here is a pretty cool epic. She does have on her A3, she'll attack one enemy and she'll transfer all debuffs from herself to the target, as well as full cleanse your entire team. So pretty nice cleanser on a 4-turn cooldown, but it doesn't provide block debuffs at the same time, so she's not great against Torments and stuff like that. However, she does also have block debuffs and continuous heals on all allies, or block debuffs for 1 turn and continuous heal for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So decent support, decent cleanser overall. We're at 2150 or just over 2,000 on the points, and 10 pull number 4. Here we go. 40 shards in. What do we got? Ursine Irehide, decent for the AoE decrease attack for Skinwalker's Faction Wars, and that is about it. Honorable mention here would be Soulbound Boyar, who's very, very S tier in some of the rare secret rooms, especially the spirit and attack-based ones. She does have an AoE on the A1, so she is perfect for a stun set. A little bit of turn meter control on the A3 here if you need it, if you need to really lock down one of those rares that, or one of the enemies that doesn't get stunned or something like that. And she has a relatively hard-hitting ability here on the A2. And she also has the benefit of 75 or 25% bonus chance to crit on all abilities. So you only have to build her, if you want to build her for damage at all in the stun set, you only have to build her to 75% crit rate. 2,500 in the champ chase, and the next 10 pull, here we go. Come on, Valkyrie. Let's see it here. Let's see it here. Talia, relatively hard-hitting epic, but not much more than that. Another 340. That is a fat rip. That should bring us to 2,800 on the champ chase. Next 10 pull. Come on. Let's get that epic rate back up. We're coming in a little bit hot, and now it's kind of fallen off to about 1 per 10. There you go. There's 2. We've got Claude Beast Feeder, 580. Claude Beast Feeder, pretty decent, somewhat underrated epic, I would say. He does have increased speed, increased accuracy on a 3-turn cooldown, which is a pretty powerful combination of abilities, and especially useful for such things as Demon Lord Clan Boss, where you want to go 2-to-1, or just areas where you want the increased speed, but you don't want to fill turn meter for one reason or another. So just for some perspective, we are now at 3,400 points in the champ chase, but normally I would have not pulled these 10 shards. I would have stopped at the 2,800 because there is a champion training event going on, and I would have made sure that I got the last 170, 150 points with either the rares I get from running campaign or just mystery shards that I need to pull for food. So for those of you focused on the min-maxing aspect of this, that's when, or 10 shards ago is where I normally would have stopped. But since we're going a little bit harder, we're going all the way to 5,500, and we're trying hard to get a Valkyrie here. We're going a little bit more aggressive than normal. So with that, let's continue. Next set of 10. Come on, Legendary. Hopefully we get one. Knight Errant, relatively underwhelming epic. I think he hits decently hard, but fairly one-dimensional in that regard. Grush the Mangler, one of my like OGs, one of the first epics I pulled on my account actually. AoE, or not AoE, Leech on the A1. Really, really high chance. I think it's 75% chance. Yeah, 75% chance to land. He does have AoE decrease attack, but it could also be decrease crit damage, which is a bit of a downside on a 4-turn cooldown. But he makes up for it a little bit with a continuous heal, or 2 continuous heals, especially if he crits, and another AoE ability, both on a 4-turn cooldown. So pretty decent defensive based nuker, but also really, really good for keeping your team alive, reducing some of the damage you take, and providing the leech and the heals for you to restore your own health. Unfortunately, we're headed towards the cap here. We're at 4,000 points, so another 1,500 to go, which could easily be 110 pull, or it could be like the next 4 or 5. So let's see what happens here. A Legendary would definitely put us over as well. And hopefully that Legendary, if at all, will be Valkyrie from the 10X. Looking like a double epic there. We got Lorne the Cutter. I forget what he does, honestly. 3-hitter on the A1, AoE heal reduction leech, not the most useful ability, and full turn meter depletion. Not that exciting. If I recall, he might be one of the daily login reward champions, or maybe that was C's. I don't recall. And Horden, a very, very old school relic keeper type champion who has the extra turns on the A1. Kind of fun in the early game if you get him early and just be a menace and take people out. But the meta's moved well past that type of champion. Now up to 4,500 points. Come on, maybe the last 10 pull, maybe the last 2. Depends on the number of epics here. Maybe we get the Valkyrie right here. No. Okay, Tanix Hate Flower. decent healer for the Demon Spawn Faction Wars if you're really lacking on support like a Duchess or a Dura the Hunger, who I would prefer to use, or who I do use. But she does have this passive where she it's kind of like Bulwark, where she takes some damage from allies. So she can kind of keep them alive, and then she can, as a single target, decrease speed, and then she can heal a little bit on the A1, kind of like a Pythion type A1 there. But I think the shining star of this 10 pull is actually Fanax, who has one of the hardest hitting A1s in the game. The only qualifier is that they just need to have any debuff, which could be decreased defense, weaken, or whatever, or even heal reduction. Doesn't really matter. Any debuff under the sun, including Brimstone, if you guys are curious. But any debuff under the sun, and he will place 2 massive, massive smacks. And if he happens to kill the target, they cannot be revived. So very, very strong. Solid A1. Hits relatively hard on the other 2 abilities, but they're just not as strong, and he's really well known for that A1. So this is probably going to be the last 10 pull here. We are at 5,100 points, and even if we get a 1 epic 10 pull, that's 340, which puts me just under 5,500, and I will do the rest with mystery shards / champion training. So this is it, our last hope, the last 10 pull, hoping for a legendary to pop out of nowhere. Lady Atessa, you are not it. Really, really weak ally attack champion, and another 340. So 100 ancients down the drain. No legendary pulls at all, and that is where we call GG, because we hit the practical limit of utility of getting 2 legendary tomes from the Champion Chase tournament. Alrighty, so that's going to do it for today's video. Unfortunately, we did not get a legendary, and thus we did not get our desired Valkyrie. As sad as that is, as a free-to-play player, I do have to highlight here that we just don't have the luxury of going all in for everything every time there's something that you might want. And so even though Valkyrie is definitely on the top of my desirable list, I'm not willing to go that hard to pull all the way down to Mercy potentially for Ancient Shards to get a legendary that may not even be her. It's not worth it. So I want to make sure that I'm getting some sort of reward for all the shards that I pull. And in this case, we pulled all the way up to the 2nd legendary tome of 5,500 points. For those wondering about the status of my Mishinaki, you can see here he's a 6-star, level 52, ready for masteries, and I will ascend him during the next CVC, as well as take care of the books during CVC as well. But I have him built in a double perception and crit damage set, and he will be utilized heavily in Brutal Hydra and potentially Nightmare Hydra when my clan reaches that level. As always, if you found this video helpful, then drop a like down below, and if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.